Hey, it's Cass, your friendly internet tired writer here. I'm tired, I'm a writer, you get it. So I just watched 65 and I really liked it. I mean, it's not my favorite movie in the world, but I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10. Anyways, towards the end, a main character sacrifices themselves, or at least intends to sacrifice himself. And it got me thinking, as movies often do. The heroism in that moment and from that character throughout the movie felt like some of the most genuine heroism I have seen in a movie or a TV show in a long while. Which is weird, because I'm a Marvel fan.
That's my secret, Cat. I'm always angry.
Part 1. Superheroes and meaningless heroism. It's a bad sign when superheroes no longer feel heroic. The MCU is filled with superheroes, they are literally the main characters, and yet post-Endgame, the heroism has felt empty. I think there's two main reasons for this. Audience expectations. When you are going into a movie or a show expecting a hero, the heroism doesn't surprise you because they are supposed to be heroes. I mean, they all but get paid for it, and some of them literally did get paid for it. I bet S.H.I.E.L.D. had a great pension plan. It's kind of like being spoiled for a character death. Like, I, for example, don't care about being spoiled. I literally asked my brother if Loki died in Infinity War, and he told me, my bad. When you're expecting a character to die, you're probably not going to have as emotional a reaction as you could have had. What you say? I mean, you might, but I think it's safe to say you probably won't, and you wouldn't know anyways. Likewise, when you're expecting a character to be a hero, that heroism might not feel as genuine as it could have, because it isn't surprising to you, and I think that's an important part about heroism. You know, you have people basically defying their instincts of self-preservation to risk their lives for other people. You don't see that every day, so it's inspiring when you do. I like to think of Marvel and superhero media in general as those inspirational quote pages on Instagram and Tumblr. Out of the mountain of despair, a stone of hope. If you want to lift yourself up, lift someone else up. Living is the art of getting used to something we didn't expect. Nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible. Audrey Hepburn said that? You know, they start off really inspiring, but then you realize it's all just a bunch of cheese. With that terminology, I could be an English professor. Watching 65 made me realize that has been my experience with Marvel lately. I said in a previous video that when everyone sucks, no one does. When everyone's a hero, who cares? Courage and earning heroism. I think the average person would associate being a hero with putting your life on the line for another person. Now, that's not all that makes a hero, but it's a pretty important part of the definition. The first part of the definition of hero is courageous, and the definition of courage is mental or moral strength to persevere, venture, and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. When a character is a superhero, their entire purpose is to do dangerous things for the sake of others. But I feel like their purpose has become their shortcoming, because we have these heroes who no longer treat heroism with any gravity. For example, Captain America, he reveres heroism. He respects it. It is a thing that is difficult to undertake, but he is willing to do it for others. Steve Rogers is one of the most courageous characters in cinema.
I've knocked that Adolf Hitler over 200 times.
And I think he's courageous because he is willing to sacrifice himself. And there are consequences to that sacrifice. When a superhero, or a character who is supposed to be heroic, treats heroism like a fun outing or doesn't even earn their courage, like some of the newer heroes, they don't feel like genuine heroes, and so their heroism feels meaningless. Not to the people they save, but to me, which is far more important. I mean, they can save the day all they want. I'm not gonna care. They can be revered as gods amongst men. I don't care. A character like Natasha Romanoff, for example, earns her hero status. You know, she was trained as an assassin. She killed people and decided that she didn't want to do it anymore. She wanted to do good. She wanted to save people, to take the red out of her ledger. She earns her courage. She earns the title of hero. Her heroism doesn't feel disingenuous because of that. I think a good comparison is cops. Society just kind of accepts that they put their lives on the line for people every day. It's just a part of their job. If superheroes were real, yeah, that shine and glamour would wear off. Saving people, it's all part of the job. Part 2. Sacrifice. Sacrifice and heroism are intrinsically linked. Sacrifice is offering yourself or something important to you for another person or situation. It is a selfless act. Heroism, as most people would probably think of it, often requires a sacrifice of physical safety. You know, there needs to be at least a chance that you'll die if you're going to save the world, which is kind of my point. When it comes to superhero movies, you are expecting heroism, you are expecting sacrifice, and honestly, you're kind of expecting whatever sacrifice the character intends to make to die. It's not going to be followed through. Because in most superhero movies, the heroes don't lose anything. Not even a hand. That's the important part about sacrifices. They need to have weight and meaning and stakes. An empty sacrifice is one without stakes. Even if the story presents this big risk to the characters or whatever, that doesn't mean the characters are actually in danger because the audience knows that they're not. They know that there are no actual stakes. And if the audience knows that the character is going to be fine, it's not a sacrifice anymore. It's a cheap plot device. I'll take this arrow bar and this plot device for $5, please. Oh, it's on for $3? Oh. Watching Marvel movies, you know that unless it's an endgame caliber installment, the sacrifices the heroes intend to make probably aren't going to have any follow through. It's rare that I will watch a superhero movie and actually be invested in any sacrifice a character intends to make. Because from past experience, I know it's not going to lead to anything. So even if the audience expects a sacrifice, they shouldn't be able to expect the outcome, because then it has less weight. I think in a movie like Endgame, we were expecting one of the original Avengers to die or something bad to happen to them. But even if we knew it was going to be Tony Stark and Natasha, I still think it would have meant something. We still felt it because they earned it. See, it all ties in. I don't just ramble on for 20 minutes. How much time do you think I have? Sacrifice is expected from superheroes, not so much from normal people. I just don't think it's in human nature to sacrifice yourself for someone maybe other than a family member. And even that can be narrowed down to parents to children. Don't think my brother is going to push me out of the way of a moving car. That's all I'm saying. Might push me into one. So when a normal person commits a sacrifice, it's not surprising because it's a movie, but it's not necessarily an expectation because it's against human nature, because it means more. It's not these people's jobs to save lives. It's not what they live for. It's just something that they decided to do because they were moved to do so. Something happens to them that makes them choose to put their lives on the line for another person. It's honestly kind of beautiful. I'd get choked up, but I don't have energy. Oh, my coffee's getting cold. Part 3, normal people and heroism. So what does any of this have to do with 65? Well, the main character of 65 is a pretty average Joe. You know, he has a job, he has a family, he needs money, so he goes into a spaceship and starts to explore space. Other than fancy tech, he doesn't have any superpowers or abilities to help him survive on this planet. He's a pretty normal guy, and I think it's because of this mundanity that when the main character intended to sacrifice himself for another character, it moved me. With superheroes, yes, they can obviously be moved to save a person. But every single person they save and help after their inciting incident and origin story, are they actually saving them because they're moved to do so, or are they saving them because that's what heroes do? When normal people do something heroic, you know it's because they have been moved to do so, and it becomes more meaningful and genuine because of that. They don't need to put on a mask and suit. They don't have superpowers. They don't have a reputation of being a hero to uphold. They put themselves on the line not because it's the right thing to do or to uphold the moral order or justice, but because they have an emotional connection with that character they are trying to save. Almost always, it's relationships with other characters that move a normal character to sacrifice themselves. With superheroes, they don't have to be emotionally invested into a person to save them. It's just something they do because it's morally right, which is obviously a good thing, but it means less emotionally. And so the audience probably won't connect with that specific kind of heroism as well as they would with doing something because you love someone. When the main character of 65 put his life on the line for another character, he did it because he cared about her and wanted her to live on. That is something audiences can connect with. And at the end of the day, as I always say, that's what writing is all about. Conclusion. After a while, the people superheroes save just become cats in trees. They are nameless, there is no connection. The hero saves them on their way to work.
Yeah, I've got time.
You know, a hero sees someone in trouble and they save them purely based off the fact they're in trouble. But what about the owner of the cat? They're gonna do everything they possibly can to save that cat. A dog owner will literally run into their burning house to save their dog. My point is, when a regular person who doesn't wear a cape for a living saves someone, puts their life on the line for someone, it's because of connection. It is because of love, empathy, compassion, kindness. It's because of the good in them. It's not because they have a reputation or because they are a hero. It's more meaningful because it doesn't happen every day. It shows that there is good in humanity. For superheroes, saving people is just another 9 to 5. It's mundane, it's normal for them. For normal people, saving lives is anything but normal. I'm done ranting now. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Another reminder, this is all my opinion, and I am not an expert in anything, but I am an author, so I like to think I'm a little bit knowledgeable in writing, but don't take my word as gospel, but I am also definitely correct. Now for some self-promo. I wrote 5 books. Before I Turn 18 is a literary anthology, basically about the transition from adolescence to adulthood. It is an existential crisis in a book. Amazon. This is my fantasy trilogy I wrote when I was a younger teenager. It is Tolkien inspired, but it is not written like Tolkien because I was 13. However, it is about wars and magic and dragons and sorceresses. Well, there's only one dragon, but still. So, if you like that kind of thing, Amazon. And this is We Shall Reap. It is a standalone fantasy. It is set in the same world as the trilogy, but it comes before. But it is more focused on morally gray characters than the trilogy is, and it is set in sort of a Middle Eastern inspired land. So, if that interests you, Amazon. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. I don't drink coffee like that.